I am standing in the garage area, and something is happening that nobody prepared for. There is a driver here, one who was never supposed to threaten oval specialists, never supposed to make Cup veterans take a second look mid-race. And right now, the room is changing. The conversations that were happening in hushed tones 6 months ago are now happening openly. Crew chiefs are watching the timing sheets more carefully. Rival engineers are pulling extra data. And the question that nobody at Trackhouse Racing expected to be asked this soon has finally arrived at full volume. What do you do when the driver you brought in for one specific job quietly starts becoming something far more dangerous? And the moment that question became real, that is the moment NASCAR's most uncomfortable rumor was born. When Trackhouse Racing signed Shane Van Gisbergen, the plan was clear. He was a road course weapon, an international credibility move. Chicago was the proof of concept, and it worked instantly. SVG's debut win at Chicago Street Course in 2023 locked in the specialist label faster than anything else could have. He was the road course ace, the experiment. Nobody outside of Trackhouse expected him to be more than that. Jordan Bianchi put it plainly. Trackhouse brought SVG in for road courses. Now people are discussing him as a complete Cup Series driver. That's a remarkable shift in perception over a relatively short period of time. That shift didn't happen by accident. It happened oval by oval. Before we go further, if you are watching this on NASCAR Racing Central, we are approaching 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help to get there. Hit subscribe right now, drop a like, leave a comment, and share this video. Every single one of those actions pushes this channel further. It means more breakdowns, more analysis, more content, exactly like this. Now back to the story. SVG's oval progression has not been about survival. It has been about measurable, documented improvement every single time he straps into the car on a non-road course. Each oval race, another weakness got smaller. Each outing, the gap between him and drivers who grew up on these tracks got narrower. For an international driver making this transition, that rate of development is unusual. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it directly, "What impresses me most isn't the road course speed. We already knew he had that. It's how quickly he's adapting to ovals. That's the part that gets people's attention." Kevin Harvick added, "Every driver has weaknesses when they enter NASCAR. The elite ones keep shrinking those weaknesses. SVG is doing exactly that right now. And Parker Kligerman identified the part that actually scares the rest of the field. The scary part for competitors is that SVG is still learning. If he's already producing these kinds of performances while adapting, imagine where he could be in 2 or 3 years. Road course dominance was already lethal. Add legitimate oval improvement on top of that, and the conversation stops being about what lane he belongs in. It becomes something else entirely. When Dale Jr. and Harvick are both using the word alight, in the same breath as your name, the garage pays attention. So does the media. And when the media pays attention, the narrative shifts. That is exactly what happened with SVG. Analysts stopped asking whether he belonged. They started asking how high the ceiling actually was. Jeff Gluck summarized the shift. Every few months, Shane Van Gisbergen seems to remove another weakness from his NASCAR resume. The question isn't whether he belongs anymore. The question is how high the ceiling really is. This was not fan speculation. This was respected NASCAR media making a formal observation. Competitors inside the garage were saying the same thing. The sport was no longer debating SVG's survival. It was debating his future dominance. Championship contender. 2 words. And that is when Trackhouse Racing's real problem started. Stop talking about SVG's growth for a moment. Look at Trackhouse. Qualifying pace inconsistencies, pit road execution questions, competitive consistency gaps that should not exist at this level of investment. The brutal contrast was becoming impossible to ignore. SVG kept delivering, and the team around him kept creating question marks. He was outgrowing the narrative Trackhouse originally wrote for him. At Pit Road Pulse put it bluntly, Trackhouse's inconsistency is accidentally feeding the rumor mill. Every mistake makes fans wonder what SVG could do elsewhere. That is not a small statement. A driver developing at this rate, potentially being held back by an organizational ceiling, that is the kind of storyline that does not stay quiet. At Checkered Flag Tom noted, Trackhouse deserves credit for developing him, but if SVG keeps improving this fast, every powerhouse team in the garage will be paying attention. And once NASCAR fans ran that comparison in their heads, SVG's upside versus Trackhouse's ceiling, there was only one place the conversation was ever going to end up. Hendrick Motorsports, say it with the weight it deserves. This is the benchmark. The place where champions are built. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott. The deepest resources in the Cup Series garage. The organization that, historically, turns talented drivers into title contenders. The fantasy spread across NASCAR Twitter, not because of leaked negotiations or insider sources. It spread because of belief. At Left Turn Larry captured it. Imagine SVG with Hendrick-level resources. That's the fantasy scenario fueling half of NASCAR Twitter right now. Bob Pockrass was precise about the facts. There is no verified evidence of SVG leaving Trackhouse. However, strong performances naturally generate speculation about future opportunities. That's how sports work. That is the political reality of NASCAR. Top organizations monitor elite talent. Sponsors evaluate marketability. Executives plan years ahead. SVG checks every single one of those boxes. At the Turdown Pod said it simply, the Hendrick speculation says more about SVG's growth than anything else. Fans don't create those rumors around drivers they think have limited upside. But the story gets more complicated here, because Trackhouse is not sitting quietly. Trackhouse built this. They believed in Shane Van Gisbergen when nobody was asking championship questions. They gave him the opportunity, invested in the development, and built around his strengths. That matters. Not every elite driver needs a dynasty team. Loyalty and organizational investment are real factors, but belief and resources are two different things when a championship is the actual goal. SVG is not just a driver to Trackhouse. He is proof of their entire organizational vision. Losing him would not just be a roster move. It would be a statement about what kind of team Trackhouse really is and what their ceiling actually looks like. At Trackhouse Faithful asked the question directly, why would SVG leave? Trackhouse gave him the opportunity, invested in him, and built around him. Not every great driver needs Hendrick. That argument is legitimate, and it is also incomplete. Pull back the lens. This story is not really about one rumor. It is about what SVG's trajectory means for the entire sport. If he continues closing the oval gap while maintaining road course dominance, he becomes one of the most valuable talents in NASCAR. Full stop. That forces every major organization to start asking contract questions, sponsorship alignment questions, long-term strategy questions. The sport's power structure, who the dominant teams are in 5 years, could actually be affected by how this story ends. At Race Day Ricky identified the most important detail. The most dangerous thing for the rest of the field is that SVG isn't close to his final form as a NASCAR driver yet. At NASCAR X-Man noted the shift in how fans are now talking about him. Fans are talking less about whether SVG can win and more about how many races he could eventually win. That's a significant difference. That is a significant difference. And it is the difference between a driver who belongs and a driver who threatens. We started here watching something nobody predicted. We are still living inside it. No verdict exists. No contract has been announced. No move has been confirmed. But the most powerful rumors in sports are not built on what happened. They are built on what people are starting to believe could happen next. Some fans believe Trackhouse keeps him, grows with him, and proves itself capable of the next level. Others believe SVG's ceiling demands a bigger stage, and that the longer this development continues, the harder that argument gets to ignore. Neither side is wrong yet. What do you think? Does SVG stay at Trackhouse and proves the doubters wrong? Or does his ceiling eventually demand Hendrick-level resources? Drop your answer in the comments right now. This is exactly the debate NASCAR needs to be having, and your take matters. Share this video with every NASCAR fan you know and let them weigh in too. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.